Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Green New World. My name is John Talupas.
My name's Alexios Talupas, and in case this is your first time tuning in with us, this is a show in search of sustainability.
We're really excited. This week's episode, we have USC Masters of Entrepreneurship student, model, climate activist, Natalie Ludwig. She's on the show.
That's an impressive resume, John. How did we land her?
Yeah, so I got one of my great Greek friends, George Pappas. He's also in the same program. She's really passionate about climate change, making our voices heard, and helping build that better, greener future we're always talking about.
She's definitely going to be a part of the change that we see in this world. We're very excited to have her on the show, and please enjoy.
All right, we have for episode 6 Natalie Ludwig on. She's a student at USD's Masters of Entrepreneurship program. We're happy to have her here. Natalie, thank you so much for coming back round 2. We really appreciate it.
Of course, I'm stoked.
So we just want to start with some rapid fire warm-ups. What did you think when we asked for a second take because we messed up the audio so bad?
I was excited. I love talking to you guys, so I'm really excited to learn more.
All right.
All right, next question.
Like-minded people, it's always good.
That is good. Next question. Are the aliens real?
Probably.
Probably.
There we go.
I was a big ET fan growing up,
Yeah.
so I wish they are. I hope they are.
Do you think they look like ET or like they look like future versions of ourselves or
do you
like
think they could be
like
anything?
yeah.
I'm hoping they look like ET, but we'll see.
You can stick them in your basket and you can ride around with them.
Yeah, that's all I want, honestly.
Hey, we also have GP here. He's also there. GP, he's in the Masters of Entrepreneurship program as well. GP, would you ride around on like a Lime scooter with a little ET alien? Is that the dream?
Dude, if my last day spent on this earth was riding around on a lime scooter with an alien, I'd be the happiest guy in the world. So now a little backstory. JT and I one weekend in DC. How many miles we put on a lime?
Dude, at
You
least
would?
like 30 or 40 miles in DC on a Lime.
Unreal.
A lime bike?
Oh,
Scooter?
or a bird, either or.
Those are
because-
dangerous. They're fun though. They're definitely sketchy.
Hey, this isn't a sponsored message or anything, but JT, which is the better ride-sharing scooter, the lime or the bird, and why?
Lime, value and speed. You're going price per block is way down, and you can fly. And also, plug, sustainable. They're electric.
Yeah?
They are, dude. No CO2 emissions. They just charge up, and you can whip around. And like when we were in DC, man, you can call an Uber. It's gonna take you 25 minutes to go, a mile and a half, because you're stopping every block with the lights, and it's a big grid and everything, because the aliens help build DC.
The aliens help
Build
build DC.
DC.
Guys. It's pretty crazy.
But GP, we'd hop on and you'd be weaving in and out, crossing the street, hitting the next green light, and like that's all you want. And like
It's a
public
video
transit.
game. I love
It
it.
is. It's so much fun.
Next question. Favorite all-time movie?
Okay, I would say Stand By Me because I was such a tomboy growing up and I would just watch that with my brothers. I think maybe because it was their favorite movie, it became mine, but it's more just like the nostalgia aspect of it.
That's awesome. All right, what about favorite type of music?
I'm really into like old folk music. Like I love Joni Mitchell so much. So I feel like that's my...
What's like old folk music? Is that like Appalachian music? That's what I'm
that
thinking of
like,
right now.
The Sons and Daughters type music? We
Hey,
are sons and
I mean, like, I don't know, like anything Joni Mitchell, like that, and even Cat Stevens, like stuff that you would listen to while you're like making breakfast in a cabin. That's like my
Oh,
type of energy.
that's a yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
So, what is one thing that Americans do that Canadians don't?
Oh.
They don't say sorry as much. I say sorry, but that's what I get made fun of all the time for. So
Can you hit that again?
sorry.
Oh my. So like the manners and being polite is
So we're unapologetic.
Yeah, I think living in New York got me a little bit rougher, but that's definitely
roughing you up a little bit.
Oh, no.
When were you in New York? Yeah, go into your backstory a little bit.
Okay. Sorry, I need to drink some water.
No, it's okay. During
It's
this
okay.
moment, our
Microphone
executive
as well.
our executive producer Salim Tunagar just gracefully plugged us with some Guyaki yerba mates.
I love it.
You'll do-
Those are so good.
Yeah. Amazing. We're trying to get a sponsorship.
Okay, backstory.
Potatoes.
It's gonna happen. Backstory, I grew up in Vancouver, Canada, huge outdoorsy person. Went to college at Dartmouth in New Hampshire, which was amazing. And then I started modeling in New York and did that kind of on and off and back and forth for like 6 years, basically. And now I've lived in the city for like the last few years. And then I just moved on to LA.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You just grew up with an appreciation for being outdoors in nature. What kind of stuff would y'all do out in Vancouver, Canada?
Like we would do, like December comes around, we'll do like polar plunges in the ocean. I hike every day with my dog. I'm a big backcountry skier. Honestly, anything outdoorsy, like there's nothing better than that.
So how did you get really passionate about sustainability and climate change?
Okay, so it's like an interesting story, but I explained this to you guys last time, but basically I did my yoga certification in Bali like a year and a half ago. And I did like this energy work, and I was like, I don't know, I was very fragile, and I went snorkeling, and it was just like horrifying how much plastic there was in the water. And I was just bawling and cleaning things up. And it was like kind of that moment of like, okay, this is like my life's purpose of like, I need to help encourage people to be smarter. And like, I just can't handle seeing like stuff that I love so much get ruined. And I would just, my mental health would be so screwed. And like, I think a lot of people is if we didn't have our outlets in nature. So that was probably the shift for me, but I've always been a nature freak.
That's really amazing. What was kind of maybe your mentality before you showed up in Bali, and talk a little bit more about that kind of process and how you decided then to come back and like you felt that call, like swimming with all this plastic and going through those like stages of emotions.
So my feeling before going there, just like in general?
Yeah, in general.
I think I was working a lot. Like I'm so grateful for my career, and like, it's been amazing, but it was a very fast paced lifestyle and a lot of alone time. And just, I was lacking an extra sense of purpose that I really needed. So kind of that yoga certification was like that mental work I needed to do of like, okay, let's like learn more about who Natalie is and like what I need. So it was like the perfect thing for me, honestly. It was a game changer.
That's really cool. And then
Very awesome.
And then coming back after that trip, what kind of projects did you get into? And how'd you end up at
that trip was crazy. I almost didn't come back. Like when I got back to the city, the sound stimulation just like was horrible. But I was excited to be back and like collaborate. I got back, was working again full time, and then I joined a group called the Model Activist Group that was started by this amazing girl named Cameron Russell. And it is basically like founded on making a more sustainable industry. And it's a lot of like really amazing activists, and we do a lot of different events. So that's like a big part of my life in New York. And then some friends from NYU and Columbia started a group called The Void that was a lot more about like community initiative. We'd meet at like a bookstore in town and just like talk about things we're passionate about. Do you want to join along? Like kind of get that collaboration of like just people that care about like a greater societal shift, I guess. So I just felt
like-minded group.
Yeah,
I feel like I came back and like I had like a new shift of like, I need these type of people in my life. Like that you have to surround yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's just like, it happened to me, and there's just like a shift. It's like, I need to start like really focusing on who I surround myself with, because that's who you kind of like mold yourself around, and that's how you build your life around, like the interactions that you have in everyday life.
100%. So coming back, you were building that network. You were starting to think about these issues. How did you end up at USC and decide to take an entrepreneurship route?
Yeah, so that was COVID. That was all COVID.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about it. Like I have always been a bookworm. So like I'd be at castings and I'd be reading a bunch of books and just sitting on the floor for like hours. And so I was always like doing that extra like self-teaching. But when COVID hit, like obviously the industry wiped away and I moved back home. I was like taking like calls for different climate groups like once every day. And I was just, I don't know, like diving into yoga and things like that. But I really felt like I needed to like make the next steps of like, okay, this is going to take a while. So like, what am I going to do with my time? And I've always wanted to start something. Like, I know I've always wanted to start a company. I'm super driven. My dad's German. I've had that like mentality of get shit done my whole
Just
life.
efficiency, organized, efficient, maximize value and
Maybe to a
purpose.
fault at times. Yeah, exactly. But it did help me. And I think like being an entrepreneur, like half the battle is having that internal drive that I don't think people can teach you. Like you're born with it. And that is like what I have, that fuel. I want to dedicate myself to something I'm passionate about. So I'm really excited because it's like helping me get that tangible skill set and like kind of guidance to create what I want.
Ways to channel that energy into an actual project.
Yeah, exactly.
GP,
greater purpose
GP, what do you always say about entrepreneurs, man? You got a great line.
You're either an entrepreneur or you're not, basically.
Yeah, I think so too. 100%.
You either yeah. There's always, man. It's just like you either have it or you don't.
It's a different viewpoint
Yeah,
of the
it
world
is.
than most people.
Oh yeah, you're either 9 to 5 or you're not. There's no in between. It's hard to cross over, but you either got it or you don't.
It's 24/7.
Yeah.
It's what you wake up and you go to bed thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. You found that kind of program to take all this passion and energy and channel it into something. So what kind of stuff have you been working on out in LA?
What's weird about this time is like obviously everything is more virtual. So I've been able to still keep up all of those same projects through the screen that probably wouldn't have happened if I had come out here at a different time. So I'm working in climate strategy at an organization called Climate Voice. And that's really cool because it started by the old sustainability head at Google. And it's a lot more about, and he's
that sounds legit. What kind?
He's unreal. And I feel like I'm learning a lot from just like the individuals that are in that group. And it's a lot more about pressuring the future employees on how to talk to the companies that they want to join. Like what questions are you going to ask at interviews, like to show the ethics that you care about, like help them make those shifts. Like, so
people our age, like, cause we're hardcore, all of us, Gen Z, maybe not GP, born in 96, but like, that's the top end of it. He looks 35.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So,
it's really cool. It's a really cool structure.
So it's about saying like, hey, we're now all entering the workforce. We're the top end.
Yeah.
And like, we're entering a workforce where we have a global pandemic, putting everything online. I know you're out in California, like the wildfires are a perfect example of what's going to only increase if we don't get stuff together. And it's like, so we're now entering, what do we want? What do we value?
Yeah.
As like a generation. That's really cool. So like, you have anything?
Well, you just mentioned the wildfires, and I just want to check in. How are those? How's
a lot better. I think it really messed me up. Like I had so much climate anxiety, and I was just super down for that like week that it was so gray and just unbreathable. But yeah, I don't know. I hope people start to think a little bit more. I know it's just starting, so like I don't know. I'm scared, I guess, would be the way to
You got to shout out all those people out there fighting those wildfires.
Yeah, definitely.
Those images were insane. And then
it's terrifying. I mean, there's still so much of it is still happening. And just
I watched some drone footage, and it's haunting. Like people were flying drones over Oregon, some places in Oregon. My gosh.
To bring it back, it's about like going. So what? How do you like approach people our age? Like, do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? Like, how does that process work?
I think it's a lot more about like leading by example. So I try to share whatever I'm doing, whether it be like online or like with my friends and like my roommates. Like, I don't know, I came to LA, like I was establishing a new life. So like we would talk about like, okay, let's get a compost bin. Like these are the things that we're going to have in our house. These are the type of, like the little switches that you can make that, I don't know, I think a lot of people find those individual shifts to be not that impactful, but there's so much research that's been done that like the individual shifts cause for the societal shifts. They cause for like the greater interest in green policy and understanding that the big corporations are the ones causing all the detriment. So I'm really just trying to make like our carbon footprint at home super small. I love sending emails to my family. I'm like,
it's a little update. This is what we're doing out here.
Yeah, I think it's not about like being like you're doing it wrong, but like being like, hey, wait, there's a recycling bin right like 5 feet away. You should go walk over there and throw it. Like just little things.
Yeah, like I took something out to the trash, and I noticed that our trash bin was like halfway full. And then I walked down, and I saw a recycling bin. There's bags of it outside overflowing, and I was just like, that's actually pretty cool that we have more recyclables than trash now.
I love
It was
that.
just a little
Yeah,
amaze.
yeah, a little thing.
That's super
Yeah.
It's
cool.
a little thing just to kind of, and then it builds, and then it's
Yeah.
what
It's gradual.
you do it in your home, and then from out there, it's when you interact, and then when it just kind of,
Yeah.
it spreads out.
But it's like
Yeah.
Gladiator. It's like the Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Guys. Win
Win
the people.
You have to win the crowd.
You have to
Win
the crowd.
win the crowd, and you win.
And you win their
I
hearts. or something
that
like
was another great movie growing up. That was definitely
Gladiator.
That was such a good movie, but like
You win the crowd. Are you not entertained?
sustainability, win the crowd, you win the heart.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
I need to watch that
That's where you have to
again.
go. That's where you have to go.
Yeah, you have to build up. And
Start
slowly.
small.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, can I ask Natalie a two-part question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the first one being, what would you consider your biggest challenge to be within your job, and maybe potentially the people that you work with outside of the company, like the people you're trying to convey your message to? And the second part to that would be, it almost seems like, especially with maybe an older generation or people that just aren't maybe particularly interested in green initiatives, is it almost like trying to speak a different language to people? And like, what are the challenges within that?
That's a great
Okay, so the
question,
second
GP.
one, I'll answer. Yeah, great question. So many challenges. I have definitely gotten in a lot of like heated arguments with older adults.
The boomer.
And alongside my sister, who's a huge conversationalist. I think it's hard. I think that they've operated this way for their entire lifetimes, that it's like, how are we going to switch now? It's like habit building in a way. So for me, it's like, yeah, really laying out the facts, like showing them the statistics, showing the photos, like what could happen, expressing my fear of like the things that I will lose, that my kids will lose, that will happen to animals, that will happen to our earth, and like really just displaying that. And I don't know, hoping that they'll make changes, like laying out things that I do. I think it's, yeah, like what I was saying, like all leading by example. But yeah, it's not easy. It's like pulling teeth, and I think like a constant reminder that you have to do. I mean, my dad, like, and I can openly hope he doesn't watch this, but
Yes.
he's great. But he definitely like used to always buy like tons of plastic water bottles for every vacation.
Our
and, like,
dad is the exact same way. Is that just a dad thing?
That's a
Is
dad
I think it's a
it's got to
dad
be a
thing.
dad thing where they
It's a
buy
dad
the,
thing.
the 48 pack.
Hey, honey, I got the case of
I
water.
got the case of water.
Yeah, and I'm like, we're from Vancouver. It has the cleanest water in the world. Like, we do not need that. And I send emails, and like I'll be like, we're going on this family trip. Okay, let's not do this. Like, this is what we should do. I'll do the dishes. Like, sign me up. So we just like, you just got to figure it out. You know, I don't want to put blame on them because that's just how he was born. Like, it's habit. Habit. He loves the earth as well. He just is learning, and he's doing a lot better now.
It's that way. We talk about what we did with Ted's during the pandemic, because everything. Our parents own a restaurant, so
Okay.
everything shut down, and it was dine-in only. And they used to have these like styrofoam boxes and styrofoam cups, and like nurses or doctors would come through, grab a to-go plate, and go.
But we
Yeah.
bullied them into getting
Yeah,
something recyclable.
yeah, it was
and
something
sustainable.
We're like, guys,
this
come
is
on,
not
guys,
okay.
please,
This
please.
stuff just
Love
sits
that.
It's
and
but the
sits
thing is,
and
like,
sits.
with it being to go now, mainly because of the pandemic, it was like, look, buy something nice, something sustainable. That way, when people eat, they're eating something really solid. And then they have these eco-friendly cups now too.
92%
Yeah.
biodegradable.
Yeah, and they
over
die.
4 years.
Yeah, versus like styrofoam that takes forever, and like it's got like
That's
a nice
awesome.
like green little plant on it, and it works well with like the vegetables, meats. You're like, this is way better. Thank you, mom and dad. So it's like the small
Hey.
stuff.
That's awesome. Good for you guys.
Hey, JT, Natalie and I talked about this a little bit, but we were having we were in a group project, and we were just kind of thinking, and then I threw out an idea of, especially with the traditional people that you mentioned, like your folks and other people that just haven't had the buy-in yet. One of the things is a lot of the message that's portrayed, not necessarily in green initiatives, but just things in general. It's like, if you don't do this or else. I mean, some people may respond to that, but a lot of people get turned off right away. Like if your parents say, if you don't do this or else, it's like, whatever. But if there's some way to convey a message that offers that person value in a positive way, like, hey, if you do this, like this is your benefit. So maybe expand upon the idea of like, how do you get people excited while also facing the daunting reality of things that are actually around without focusing on that?
It's a really good question.
It is.
That's
I
good.
think one of the big thing is like Natalie was saying, was in the message and the way you deliver that. because I think like when you do this, or people are like, I'm good. But if you say, hey, we can do this because it's X, Y, and Z better, because we're with our parents real quick. We were pitching them, was like, look, everyone's taking these to go. Make a better box. They're going to have a better meal and enjoy it better. And that way, even though it's a little bit more expensive, you're presenting your customers with a better value because they get to enjoy a hot meal. And like these plates, when we would take them to like the hospital or something, they stay hot for like 2.5 hours because they like seal all the way around and it contains all the heat. Versus the styrofoam, it would like leak out. So they're getting a hot meal 2 hours later. And that's how you get people to buy in. So they think they're always upgrading. And that's like when you talk about energy or transportation, like EVs, like they're just, not only are they sustainable, they're just a better car. They're fun as hell to drive. Like a Tesla, you know, when you get it, it's just, it looks better. It's more fun. It's amazing. Autopilot, it's beautiful. You're like, oh, it's just better. It's kind of to wrap things up. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And like, what are you really excited about moving forward?
Okay. Well, I'm excited because I do think people are waking up. Like, I think it's now like 65% of people that think climate change is real and that they need to take action, which is really high, like for what it was. So that's hopeful that hopefully change will be made. Hopefully twice in a row. Love that. I'm a little tired. But in 5 years, I hope to have launched my sustainability venture that is really giving back and making a difference. I hope that I will still be teaching yoga because that's just like my number one passion, makes me so happy. And that I'm living by the water and can swim every work break I have. Yeah. That's the hope for me. What about you guys?
5 years. That's a great 5 years you have lined up. That's something
like fun.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds good.
5 years. You want to take it, bro?
5 years. I want to. That's tough. I hope we have our venture, our YouTube has a gained following. I hope that we are too by the water. I love the water.
Yeah, the water is it's a great perk.
I hope I'm finally fluent in Greek.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope the world is
sustainable.
Like I was talking to John earlier, and I was like, dude, I hope that more scaling happens for sustainable companies and it catches on in public popularity. What about you?
Yeah, man. I think, like you said, by the water, that'd be a big plus. I hope we get to like travel around and just keep going and finding cool people to talk to. And then maybe we can start selling some of these products or investing or helping just facilitate the markets. Just be in the markets and have our show and just have a good time.
Yeah.
That's what we're working towards.
I love it. Good 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
George, thank you again for coming on, setting this up.
George.
Thank you both.
Thanks for connecting us. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely. We got to stay in touch. Maybe one day worlds collide if we're ever out.
They will.
Then
100%.
They will. Wow, that was a really impressive interview.
What?
That was a really impressive interview.
It was. She's very cool. She knows what she's talking about.
She's on top of things, and I think the number one thing is she's really passionate about this.
You can't teach passion.
No, and I think she's in a really cool program to kind of channel that energy into something really big.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to staying in touch,
collaborating,
working, building that network, and who knows, maybe one day worlds will collide.
Until next time, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and remember, together we can build a green new world.